Good morning and welcome to Breakfast Central. For the next 2 hours, we will be exploring some of the biggest stories around Nigeria. We're very delighted that you've chosen to start your day with us. And we assure you that you're joining one of the best breakfast shows, if not the best breakfast show in Nigeria, and to certainly be worth your time. I am Olive Emodi.
Good morning and welcome to Breakfast Central, your go-to breakfast show on television. I am Benga Bora. We have a lot in store for you today. So sit back, relax, grab your coffee and relax. Let's start up with our wake-up conversations. And we start in Nigeria. Yes, the Minister of Culture and the Creative Economy said she's going to the Netherlands with a delegation to meet Netflix. If you recall, there was Netflix stopped commissioning original Nigerian movies last year. They made an announcement. And you know what Nollywood is. We have a big and thriving movie industry. So she said she's going to talk to them to, see if they'll have a change of mind and all of that. And she's going with quite a big delegation. The delegation will be led by Dr. Shuaibu Hussaini, Executive Director, CEO, National Films Censors Board. There's also Charles Okpaleke of Play Network and a few other people. And Nigerians are saying, look, are we not supposed to be looking inwards with this advent of Trump? Let's create our own streaming platforms. And why are they wasting all this money? Some have even called it a trip to Holland, to Netflix and chill. I wonder what you think, Olive.
Well, so I don't know how I feel about the story of Netflix really stopping to commission original Nigerian movies. I'm not very sure about that, because I know there was also a time that Netflix had come out to debunk the news. It was big news towards the end of the year. And but however, regardless of what the situation is, I do think that Netflix has provided a number of opportunities for Nigerian movies to be showcased globally. It's been a fantastic collaboration between Nigerian filmmakers and Netflix. I remember one of my claims to fame then was the fact that I had a movie that was on Netflix.
Oh, nice.
And I was shown on Netflix. So the excitement knowing that, oh, you're on Netflix, people can see you around the world, was just that uniformed platform. But I completely certainly do agree with you that we should be looking forward or looking inward to develop homegrown content. Interestingly, Nigerians in the diaspora are always looking for Nigerian content. On YouTube is why the Aki and Popo type movies are always doing huge numbers. And I'm very proud of Nigerian filmmakers for the opportunities they've made for themselves on YouTube. We see a number of them who have started to create content on YouTube, the likes of those who started from way back, Mary Remi Njoku, when she started off with, creating a platform for Nigerian filmmakers to showcase their films. And then those who started to do that on YouTube as well, Ruth Kadri, how can I forget her name? Biodun Stevens, yes. And then Udwak Esong, Esong. And more recently, we started to see people like Bimbo Ademoye doing films on YouTube, Omoni Oboli, just literally creating a platform for themselves. So I think that Nigerian filmmakers, I don't know if they are given as much credit as they deserve. It's literally taking lemons and making lemonade out of them. And they've been able to create platforms for themselves. I think what the government then needs to do is to look inwards and see opportunities in which we can create a uniformed platform where we can say, you know what, this is ours, this is our homegrown. So we have a number of streaming ones like that here in Nigeria, but how very receptive are Nigerians to these ones?
What would be a successful trip for you when they come back? What should be the metrics for judging their trip as successful or not successful?
Honestly, I don't even know this question. A famous poet said, a famous singer-songwriter said, if you ask me, who I go ask. But at the end of the day, I think they're the ones who know what exactly they're looking for, maybe to have more collaborations, because I think part of what we're looking at in the new year, or in this year, where it is February, I can't believe that, in this year is to see more collaborations between brands. People are starting to realize that, look, I don't have to do this thing by myself.
Exactly.
I can collaborate with other brands to be able to do it. I think it would still be a great idea, whilst we're looking at homegrown platforms, to still foster collaboration with international platforms, because for now, we don't have the global appeal yet. People in the Netherlands or in Sri Lanka don't have the local ones that we have here in Nigeria, but they have Netflix. So we can partner with Netflix to ensure that we continue to project Nigerian voices to the world whilst we are looking home. Exactly, and building our own opportunities here. Now let's move away to some politics, as we have reports that big name in the Labour Party has officially announced his resignation from the party on Wednesday, and that's of course Valentine Ozigbo, who of course did contest at the last elections in Anambra State. And there's been a flurry of reactions to his departure from the Labour Party. In his official memo, he said he'd of course informed His Excellency Peter Obi about his leaving, basically out of his respect for him and his leadership, but he hasn't quite yet said exactly where he'll be going to next. There have been allegations, people have started to make a number of guesses. Now, he's an ally of the 2023 Labour Party presidential candidate, His Excellency Peter Obi, and of course he also contested in 2021 under the People's Democratic Party. Now, he hasn't disclosed his next line of action, but of course he does says that he has deep respect for the leadership of Peter Obi.
So I guess he's realigning and weighing his options. There are elections in Anambra State in November this year, so he might think of going to another party, maybe a more established party, to weigh his chances. Who knows? Like in politics, no.
So the question now is
permanent.
The question is, what is a more established party in the context of the reality?
The heavyweights, the APCs and the PDPs.
But the thing is, the Labour Party supporters are frowning at the idea of him leaving and potentially going to the APC or the PDP, especially because they don't believe that it will be in alignment with what he as a person has. I mean, I've seen a number of the reactions on X with people expressing the dissatisfaction of him potentially joining other political parties. What the future will hold for him, I don't know. If he's going to join another party, we don't know.
Time will tell.
But I mean, he's run under the PDP before. Who knows? He might decide that it's time to align forces with Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, or he may decide to serve under the current administration. Regardless of what it is, people will say all the political parties are different sides of the same coin.
Exactly.
All right. We move to our final story, Benga.
And our final story happened in the Senate. The Senate president reacting to the USAID allegations that they sponsored Boko Haram. He did summon service chiefs and the National Security Advisor. But before that, he made a comment. I think we should just listen to the video and then we'll come back.
I was a bit circumspect. Social media is garbage in, garbage out. Anybody can say anything on the social media. Many of us have experienced social media attacks as leaders. And sometimes 99% of what is in the social media is inaccurate. And sometimes total speculation. And sometimes based on mischief. So there is no way we can shave a man's head behind his back. We must hear from our own security agencies. We must hear from our intelligence agencies. When you mentioned the NIA and the DSS, I also believe we should also look at the DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency, because they are also interacting with people in the theater of war in the Northeast. So they will have information on past arrests and questionings and all that to brief us. And security is not something we discuss in the market. It's something that...
There you have it, the Senate President discussing security matters and, of course, social media. He said, what you see on social media is garbage in, garbage out. A lot of it is speculation, and 99% of it is untrue. I'm sure a lot of people would disagree. 99%?
Yes. How did you get his statistics?
Exactly.
What metrics is he working with to say 99%? I'm not really surprised because Senator Godswill Akpabio, social media hasn't literally leaned favorably towards him, especially because of how he positions himself in the way that he jumps on conversations and stirs up controversy. And a number of these gaffes have been picked up on social media and made a thing, from sending prayers to their emails, to shutting Senator Natasha Akpoti Uduaghan. So there are a number of gaffes.
Making comments about nightclub. And
exactly. There are a number of comments he's made that haven't sat well with the general public. And social media, whilst it has its downsides, we can't ignore the fact that social media has been a tool to to be able to advocate for the common man. Many people have lost hope that they will get justice, if not for the impact of social media.
Let's also remember there are lots of news organizations, reputable news organizations have social media platforms. So are you saying what they're putting out is garbage? It depends on what you're searching for. And we should, as individuals, also be circumspect about the sorts of content we put out there, and then have basic media literacies to know when something is fake and when to do a double or triple check on a news story and not just jump on it.
And the good thing is that there's a suit called defamation. If you feel that somebody has said something about it that's untrue, you can take them to court and have a matter against them in court for defamation. Exactly. However, the other side of social media, which I want to quickly shed some light on, I don't know if you saw the video that Clinton COD, the comedian, put out, calling out a number of blogs and individuals such as Egungu for putting out content which he said has derailed the young people in Nigeria because they're promoting the wrong values. Do you worry also about sometimes the kind of content that is put out?
Then there should be, like the Nigerian Film and Video Censors Board, they would rate, so if you're putting out some skits, it should be rated 18 or 13, PG, parental guidance, and all of that, because some of them are just totally ludicrous. But, I mean...
It's how we are going to find the fine line, really. Yeah. It's a hard
So I guess it's the parents that would decide. And, I mean, we keep talking about parents. A lot of young adults that are being misled, they don't even need parents. They just think, you know, the oppression, they think this is the way life should be and all of that. And speaking from our own personal perspective, we might feel, okay, we can be influenced by this sort of things, but there are millions of people. So you're right.
You'll be surprised how even we can be influenced. Haven't you realized sometimes you are craving something, but you don't realize it because you saw that same thing on Instagram a few hours ago. You saw yam and egg, and all of a sudden you're thinking, oh, I feel like eating yam and egg, but it was implanted in your subconscious from what you saw. I think it's also a call to those who have become leaders and influencers and impactful voices on social media to decide what they're going to use their platform for, what they want to be known for. However, we would never ever say that social media is a terrible thing. It's brought a lot of opportunities for young people, and it's gotten justice and help for a number of Nigerians who would ordinarily not have gotten the justice and the help that they need.
Absolutely.
All right, let's bring you our top stories this morning, and then we'll bring you breakfast headlines. This morning on Breakfast Central, Osun APC reinstates chairman in 14 local government areas amid crisis. The drama continues to unfold. USAID calls for probe spread over alleged Boko Haram funding. Akpabio says it's garbage in, garbage out. Senate to investigate USAID terrorism funding allegation. And we, of course, will be looking at the federal government unveiling Nigeria's 4-year roadmap for growth. Away from that, we will be reviewing the newspaper front pages. We open the phone lines and we have an analyst join us.
Hello and welcome to Breakfast Headlines. I am Benga Borowa. We begin with security matters, where we understand the Nigerian Senate has summoned the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, to address allegations that USAID is funding Boko Haram. Those invited include the heads of the Nigerian Intelligence Agency, the DSS, the Defense Intelligence Agency, the Chief of Defense, Army, Navy, and Air Staff. The move follows claims by U.S. Congressman Scott Perry, which Senator Ali Ndume raised as a matter of urgent national importance on Wednesday. Senate President Godswill Akpabio questioned USAID's continued presence in Nigeria if the allegations are true. Senator Abdul Ningi also expressed concerns over the misuse of foreign aid in conflict zones. Security chiefs are expected to brief the Senate on their findings soon. Now move on to legal matters. A federal high court in Abuja has rejected Senator Samuel Anyanwu's request to stop the Independent National Electoral Commission from recognizing his removal as the National Secretary of the People's Democratic Party. Presiding Judge Justice Ejike Okpa ruled on Wednesday that while the case was urgent, the court must hear from all parties before making a decision. Anyanwu sought an order preventing INEC from acting on PDP documents without his signature. The judge instead directed him to notify INEC and PDP Chair Umar Damagun of the suit. The court scheduled February 24th for the hearing, allowing both sides to present their argument. We now head to Benue State, where the State House of Assembly has removed Justice Maurice Ekpembese as the Chief Judge of the state. Lawmakers on Wednesday also recommended Justice Teresa Egoche, the next most senior judge, as the acting chief judge. The decision followed a petition from Governor Hyacinth Alia, who accused Mpembese of abuse of office, corruption, tampering with local government election laws, and inciting judicial strikes. However, the removal was met with opposition, as 13 out of 31 lawmakers voted against it. The development has sparked controversy in the state's judiciary, with some legal experts questioning the process leading to Mpembese's removal. In the meantime, the Benue State House of Assembly has suspended 13 lawmakers for dissociating themselves from the removal of Chief Justice Maurice Mpembese. The lawmakers had described the removal as unconstitutional and a violation of democratic principles. At an emergency plenary on Wednesday, the Assembly suspended them for 3 months, calling their actions dishonorable and divisive. Majority Leader Sata Tese stated that 23 out of 31 members had voted for the removal based on allegations of misconduct and corruption. However, some lawmakers later denied supporting the motion, violating House standing rules. The Assembly condemned their actions, saying it undermined legislative integrity and could cause disorder within the House. And that's all on Breakfast Headlines. I'm Benga Aborowa. Breakfast Central continues shortly. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. Now, the battle for Osun's local government leadership has taken another turn. APC-elected chairman and councillors, once dismissed by the state government, have now resumed office in 14 local government areas. This is according to findings by the Punch newspapers. Recall that this chairman attempted to resume office on Monday following a Court of Appeal ruling upholding the election. However, that attempt turned violent. Security operatives were said to have been assigned to the officials as they resumed duty yesterday.
Now let's take you through a brief recap of all that's occurred in the past few days. The resumption follows a legal dispute over the validity of the 2022 local government elections, which were conducted in the final days of the previous administration. Governor Adeleke Ademola of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, assumed office and upheld the court's nullification of the local government elections, leading to the removal of the previously elected All Progressives Congress officials as the APC, of course. Now, in February 2025, an appellate court issued a judgment that the APC interpreted as a mandate to reinstate their previously sacked local government chairmen and councillors. Acting on this interpretation, these officials attempted to resume duties on February 17, 2025, leading to violent clashes and multiple fatalities. The Osun State Independent Electoral Commission, OSEC, has announced its readiness to conduct local government elections on 22nd of February. This morning, we're joined to discuss these developments by a spokesperson of the Osun Masterminds, Comrade Ayodeji Ologun. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Good morning.
It feels like what we're seeing out of Osun State feels like something out of a Nollywood movie. It feels like every day there's a new update, there's a twist and turn. You know, just when we thought the state was returning, things were returning to normalcy and we're counting down to elections on Saturday, there's a new update. Will the elections hold in Osun State on Saturday?
Well, it's dicey to say the election would hold because as at this minute, the position of the law, except if interpretation is further sought and it's on the contrary, is that there is no vacancy at the local government. So if that is not upturned or there's no interpretation of the existing judgment to prove otherwise, what that simply means that anyone that goes into election on Saturday is acting in subjugation of the court, which is in itself is criminal. So what I hope will be done between now and maybe tomorrow, which seems to be the only available day, would be for the PDP to approach the same appeal court that seems to have given the controversial judgment, seek for an interpretation of the judgment, and let's get all this drama done with. Otherwise, going to election on Saturday will be seen as an affront to the court. And come to think of it, if you want to hold election, you will need security. You will need the civil defense corps, you will need the police, you will need the DSS and all of that. And if they are of the opinion, by whatever directive has been given to them by the police headquarters, that the judgment is in favor of the APC, and they're upholding that, which security operative do you want to use in election? You don't go to election with open hands without security for the life and properties of the people and, of course, the electoral material. So except something happen between today and tomorrow, I don't see the possibility of an election holding on Saturday.
We had a lawyer yesterday, just to quickly add, and we've seen various interpretations of that court judgment. And the lawyer that we had on the show yesterday, Festus Ugun, had spoken to the fact that there was no express statement regarding the potential maybe reinstatement of the local government chairmen who had to vacate their seats. So I mean, you're saying that from your statement, it seems that you have a different interpretation of that.
No, I don't. Look, the reason why we have this avoidable crisis in our hand is because two people are laying claim to different interpretation of the same judgment. So if the APC is claiming that the interpretation of the judgment for them means that the XY local government people, chairmen and councillors are being reinstated, and the PDP is saying there is no clarity, there is no definite instruction or definite declaration by the judgment that the XY local government chairman have been reinstated, the right thing to do would be to approach the same court. It's the provision of the law. Approach the same appeal court and seek for interpretation. The judges that sat on that case have not disappeared into thin air. They are still existing. So approach the court, seek for interpretation of the case, and let there be an explicit declaration of what.
And this is a very commonsensical thing to do. Why haven't they done it?
Well, you know, politicians most of the time allow emotions, allow political reasoning to overrule their common sense, with due apology to all politicians, because they will see what is right to be done and choose otherwise. The crisis that ensued in Osun on Monday was a very avoidable one. And as at the last count, 6 lives have been lost and a lot of people lying.
Very unfortunate.
So why should we have to get to that point when whatever has brought about the crisis is judicial, and you could approach the judiciary for further clarification of what two people are claiming to be what is and what is not.
So on who does the burden rest? Because in this case, Osun State, of course, has a PDP-led administration. Sure. APC tried to overtake these seats, tried to take over the secretariat that has now led to the loss of lives. Days before, Governor Ademola Adeleke had warned via X that their plans to, conduct their plans for violence to erupt in the state, and had said that they should hold Oyetola responsible. So on who does the burden lie in terms of going back to the court to ask for representation, and the way that and manner in which they have handled it? Is that the way that they should have handled it?
I've said it again and again. That was not the way to handle it. And the unnecessary outcry of the governor on Monday was not the thing that is needed. Look,
no, he's chief security officer of the state.
He's the chief security officer of the state, but he does not control the security architecture. The police, the civil defense, the DSS are under the control of the federal government. They don't take instruction from the governor. And ordinarily, if a judgment is given in your favor, what you do is to approach the register of the court. The register of the court is supposed to be the one to communicate to security agencies who, in turn, enforce the judgment. So for whatever reason, if the police hierarchy, the DSS hierarchy, and the civil defense hierarchy have been given an order by maybe the AGF or whoever, that by the interpretation of that judgment, it is in the favor of the APC, and they should go and enforce the insertion of those people, there's nothing the PDP-led administration in the state can do. 1 million press conferences, 1 million press releases will not do it. So the responsibility of finding lasting solution to all of this lies at the door of the PDP. Look, the APC is taking an advantage, which anybody would do. If you seem to have something that you feel favors you, you want to run with it. So if another party feels it's not your right, it's now the choice and the responsibility of that other party to look for how to stop that legally, not by confrontation. So the onus of approaching the court for interpretation as it stands this morning is at the door of the PDP.
Now, yesterday, as the local government chairman, APC local government chairman, resumed work at their secretariat, there were reports that they were accompanied by men of the Nigerian police. What do you interpret this? Does this mean there's bias, a sort of bias from the central government, the APC-led government in Abuja, to provide some sort of cover for them?
Unfortunately, that's another narrative that the PDP have sold, which for me does not make sense, except for people who have political alignment. Look, the police, by every sense of responsibility, is not supposed to be biased, either for the ruling party or for the opposition. It's an institution meant to uphold the law. And I did say the other time that normally the right thing to do is that when such judgment is given, you approach the registrar of the court, who in turn communicates security forces. Nobody has been able to tell us if that has been done. So perhaps the Nigerian Police Force has the instruction of the court that what the APC is claiming is the true position. Nobody has been able to clarify that or give a claim otherwise. So if the police force has an instruction that the interpretation of that judgment is in the favor of the APC, they are duty bound to execute.
Are you saying that they had, are you clearly saying that they had an instruction?
I'm not saying that they had
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
Nobody has been able to tell us if they had such instruction or they don't. But ordinarily, the court is, through the register of the court, is to inform the security apparatus to enforce judgment. Maybe that instruction has been given. Nobody has been able to tell us. So if you feel the police is acting otherwise, I don't feel so.
I mean, if their instruction has been given, it will be public knowledge.
It might not be public. How many enforcement of court judgments has the police made public? This is Nigeria.
Okay. So how do you see this? I mean, now that it's come to a head and both sides are not backing down, plus there's a potential for elections on Saturday. If the courts don't interfere and interpret between today and Saturday, how do you...
Or if they don't apply, because the court is not going to interpret. Exactly. So it gives what you ask for.
So if there is no interpretation in court now of the subsisting judgment which favors the APC, going into election on Saturday will be the subjudice of the court. And if at all that election holds, that means we'll be having two sets of elected chairmen. And that would definitely put Osun State into more problem. As far as the federal government is concerned, except there's a clarity in judgment, they will withhold funds accruable to the local government. Don't forget there's a judgment that says that funds should be directed and paid to the account of the local government. So the federal government might take that as an excuse to say that, look, we don't even know which one is authentic. You have two sets of elected local government chairmen. And for that reason, fund is withheld. Then what becomes of the fate of the ordinary citizens of Osun State who are depending on whatever comes to the local? There are contractors, there are people, millions of people in Osun State that does not even know what Osogbo looks like, which is the state capital. The best thing that could ever happen to them is the local government, which they are the closest to. So if eventually you allow this political issue to further, it's going to be at the detriment of the ordinary citizens that the incumbent have sworn to protect and to provide for.
Well, these citizens that the incumbent has sworn to protect and provide for, unfortunately, like you've mentioned, lives have been lost. You mentioned 6 lives.
The police says 6.
6 lives that have been lost. How do we, make up for those? I mean, nothing can be done to bring justice. Justice will mean them coming back. But the closest to justice would mean that those who are responsible for their deaths are behind bars. They're brought to face the law. So how well or how much faith do you have that those who are responsible for the death of these 6 people will be brought to justice? Just like you rightly said, there's no justice that can be given to the dead. The best you can give is to give closure to the family of those that have lost the lost ones. And the only way to do that is to ensure that those who have been responsible for the avoidable mayhem in Osun State on Monday are brought to book. And in this case, this has nothing to do with politics. On both sides, there have been casualties. So it's not a matter of arrest APC people, leave APC people. On both sides, whoever has been identified and responsible for the mayhem which was avoidable, I keep saying, should be made to face the consequences of the law without any compromise. That's the only way the families of those who lost their life can have closure.
Now, comrade, given the luxury of hindsight, and they say, we learn from history so as not to repeat the mistakes of history, knowing the way everything started, the genesis, October 2022, should the former governor, Oyetola, should he have gone ahead to hold local government elections in the dying days of his administration, knowing it could cause destabilization of the polity in Osun State, which we're still experiencing in 2025?
There are two things. There's a difference between, I want us to be very clear about the need and the process. The best time to do a thing is yesterday. The second best time is now. So whether election held after he left office or otherwise, would have been immaterial.
He didn't give enough
That is
notice.
what I'm coming to. It's the process. Yes. It is the process of the election that there are issues with. So the fact that election held after he left office is immaterial. Election could even hold a day to the swearing in of the new government if the right process has been followed. So just like a lot of other people, I remember that the organization I represent, which was your mastermind, spoke about the process way back in 2022, that this process seems not tidy. So if there has been a problem with the process, I agree that the process of the election then might not have been the best. But the fact that it held after he left office is immaterial because the election could hold anytime.
We haven't really heard much from the Minister of Marine and Blue Economy. Do you maybe know his position on the violence that's erupted in the States?
There's no way I can know his position. I'm not a politician. I'm not a member of his party. But if you ask me, this has nothing to do with him.
Why do you say that?
Look, he's the leader of the party in Osun State. He is the former governor. What is happening is between two political parties, the APC and the PDP. Don't forget that the National Secretary of the APC is also from Osun State. That's Bashiru, SRJ. So if there are political issues, I don't see why a minister should leave the duty and the responsibility of his office to come and get involved in local politics. So this is a battle, this is not a battle between Demola Adeleke and Isiaka Oyetola. It's a battle between the APC and the PDP. So for whatever reason, I don't see a reason why his name should be thrown forth, except for the fact that he's the leader of the party. What business does he have?
Now, members of the APC have called for a state of emergency in Osun State following the violence that erupted on Monday. Do you think they're overstretching it?
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's a call that is unpatriotic, if you ask me. We've had more terrible situations. We've had things that are worse than this in Edo in the days of Obaseki. We had it worse than this even up till now in River State. We've had similar situation in Oyo State, if you recall, when the incumbent governor was in his first term. And there was no reason for a state of emergency. These are purely judicial matters. They are not even too political as far as I'm concerned. So why should it lead to a call for a state of emergency? I think that's an unpatriotic call and it's a call taken too far.
Okay.
All right. I mean, we, of course, would keep following with the updates in Osun State. We have 2 days to the potential elections.
And we hope
potential, because
we hope to have you back soon.
At the end of the day,
it's a fast developing
I think what we need to do is to then have a conversation with you and Festus Ogun, who seem to be on different sides of the interpretation of the law, and we can have a broader conversation about this. But of course, we'll wait for the elections to happen. Thank you so much for your time with us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
All right, many other conversations to go on. We'll be looking at the USAID shortly, as well as the role of the Nigerian Senate in investigating it right after this break. The Nigerian Senate has initiated an investigation into claims that the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, has been sponsoring terrorist organizations, including Boko Haram in Nigeria. This move comes after U.S. Congressman Scott Perry alleged that USAID's $697 million annual budget has been used to support extremist training camps. Now, here's what you need to know about this.
Now, the Senate has scheduled a private briefing with intelligence agencies to gather more information before taking action. The Senate has summoned top security and intelligence officials, including the National Security Advisor, the Director General of the National Intelligence Agency, and the Chief of Defense Intelligence to provide briefings on the matter. Nigeria's Senate President Godswill Akpabio emphasized that Nigeria will not permit USAID to continue operations in the country if the allegations are confirmed. The United States Embassy in Nigeria has reaffirmed its commitment to ensuring that U.S. assistance is properly utilized, while also strongly condemning the atrocities committed by Boko Haram and other extremist groups in Nigeria. Join us this morning to further discuss the role of intelligence gathering in this development and the latest. We have Global Affairs Analyst Ejike Okpa. A warm welcome to you, sir, and thanks for joining us on Breakfast Central.
Thank you very much for joining us. Yes, good to have you, and thanks for staying awake to join the conversation. We're also joined this morning by the former Deputy Director, Department of State Services, Dennis Amachree. Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us, sir.
Good morning. Now, I'd like to start with Ejike Okpa. Congressman Scott Perry's claims are quite serious, and he made this, it's caused a lot of ripples around the world, and he made these allegations without providing any sort of evidence. What do you make of this?
Well, thank you for having me, and you know, this has been a hot topic, you know, that since the story broke, I have appeared on one other program and you know, when they mentioned the Boko Haram, I said that President Tinubu should go back to 1999 and do a presidential, you know, review of what USAID has done, because, you know, the reputation of Nigeria is on the line by mentioning Boko Haram. If there was any money received to that effect, who received it and what was the purpose for receiving such money? And then, you know, I argue, you know, since, you know, it was a congressman that made that comment, and he's the president of the Nigerian Senate, he should write him a letter. You know, write him a letter, said, you know, this is of concern to us, and we would like to do a joint, you know, investigation and then to verify, you know, the source of this, instead of, you know, Abiy has always been a lousy speaker. You know, he doesn't, when he talks like he's talking to his village people in Akwa Ibom. You know, I listened to what he was saying earlier. This is not to dig him, but the guy doesn't have any standing. But, you know, that's beside the point. The point here is Nigeria, you know, Boko Haram is associated with Nigeria. That should be concern from the leadership, both from the legislative side and the executive side, to say, oh, let's get to the bottom of this and see, you know, what we need to do to address it. If not, it's just going to linger and become one of those things that you sweep it under the rug, it still damages your reputation.
All right, let's now bring in Mr. Amachree into the conversation. But before we do, I think part of the angles would be many who would ask if Nigeria's intelligence potentially picked this up, but it was not pursued. But let's take a look at this video.
They didn't want any oversight function. They didn't want us to know where they were going to. We had issues with that, because now they will go into the enclave of the terrorists and go and treat them. You are treating the same people that is attacking the communities. You tell them, no, that you are neutral. How neutral can you be? We've had situations where allegations of arms, them conveying arms to us just to make sure that the war continues. We've had situations where they will tell you they are taking food to communities. Halfway, they'll tell you the trailer has broken down. By next morning, the trailer is empty. And that vehicle that is broken down, the driver will just go and drive it and take it back. So what had happened? You have funded those guys. You are taking care of them equally. We've had several situations like that. So we said, no, it can't continue like that. And that's why we insisted with the state government that, look, the state government must know what's going on. So if any NGO comes, it must be registered. We must monitor what's going on. We've had situations where NGOs will come in with unidentified individuals entering communities. You don't even know what they're doing. They don't have NGO ID cards. They are not part of the government. Who is taking them to? What are they going there for? And so by the time we start monitoring what they were doing, we noticed things started getting better. So which means something is going on somewhere. Because they come from all over the world and you don't know who is who. So that's why for every country, please regulate what the NGOs are doing, monitor what they're doing. Most times you hear them telling you that they spent $10 million.
So from that clip, I mean, a number of inferences can be made. Maybe the potential that this isn't the first time we're hearing about this, and that maybe our intelligence had maybe picked up on this, but, you know, but it wasn't pursued. But again, the light was shown on NGOs and the work that NGOs do. And I'd like to ask Mr. Amachree, I mean, you did serve with the DSS, to ask if, you know, what the procedure was like when you were in office, or when you know, in your time with the DSS, if they were strict with the NGOs, and if all of this comes as a shock or a surprise to you.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. You see, this NGO thing has been one of concern for a very long time, because this intelligence community are very, very much aware that some of these NGOs are just cover agencies, covers, you know, they are not actually what they claim to be. They are cover agencies for, most of the intelligence organizations of the superpowers that are working with us. Because you find out that the USAID, as we're talking about right now, is a very big cover because of the United States. The structure itself is designed in this way. You have the US government, you have their foreign affairs, and then right in between, you have USAID. And that USAID is one that, most of the agents of the United States will be working through. Some of them come in as doctors, some of them come in as university lecturers or agriculturists or whatever. And then, of course, we will not know except when we properly investigate their movements and everything. Then we can find out that these guys are not actually here as doctors. They are busy maybe in the night trying to transmit information to their headquarters. So it is something that the CDS has set it up, and that is why the intelligence agencies have now put their searchlight on what is happening there.
So, on who does the fault lie? Who is to be held responsible for these lapses? I mean, it's taken a long time. It's taken years. Who should have ensured that their actions were regulated and we didn't have to get to this point where these strong allegations have had to be made before we're shining the spotlight? Following up with you, Mr. Amachree.
Okay. It is not a fault. It is not a fault. It's an international game that is played by every country. The international spies, and the internal spies. For instance, I tell you, all the embassies, all the people you see in the embassy, mostly are spies of different countries. Nigeria also played the game. We have NIA, the National Intelligence Agency, which operates from out of our embassies in foreign countries. Now, some of them, those ones are called legal residents. The legal residents are the ones that are permissible by Geneva Convention to operate in each other's country. That's after the Second World War. Normally, what do? They collect information about the country they are and send it to their country. Now, there are others who are in deep cover, and those ones are known as illegal residents. Illegal residents are the ones I'm telling you that comes in as Red Cross, NGOs, and stuff like that, and they work undercover. And then, of course, the same objective is there. And the one that the CDS has even right now discovered, was discussing, was the one of, intelligence agencies have observed that most of these Boko Haram people are carrying brand new arms and ammunition. Now, look at the people themselves. You find out that they are just ragtag soldiers or ragtag bandits, but they are carrying state-of-the-art weapons. Professor Bolaji Akinyemi had said it in his interview on another channel that these people, when they went to investigate the Boko Haram insurgency, the natives even told them that they have people flying in with helicopter in the night and dropping things and leaving. Whatever supplies that they are dropping, these are things of very, very serious importance. And of course, the security agencies are very much aware. But like I told you, it is not, we're blaming this one or we're not blaming this guy. The point is that it's a game that is being played internationally all over the world, and then of course, we happen to be playing our own with a terrorist group that is backed by a very serious, superpower. And that power has been with them for so long. That's why over 10 years now, 15 years, we've been fighting Boko Haram, But now, I'm happy that the revelations are coming out. And these revelations are going to burst the bubble.
Thank you, Mr. Amachree. Now, back to you, Mr. Ejike Okpa. We just heard the revelations from a former deputy director of the DSS, and it seems the needle is moving towards, this is real. Like he said, it's a game. Even close allies spy on themselves and do all sorts of things to promote national interest. We remember the USS Liberty incident where Israel bombed an American ship and killed American servicemen because they wanted to drag Egypt into the war. But away from that, the Nigerian Senate is currently holding some investigation. They're going to have meetings with the Intelligence High Command. If these investigations confirm this claim, okay, these things happen, we've seen this, how do you think this might affect our diplomatic relations with the United States going forward? Knowing the president in the White House now is one that doesn't like any sort of criticism.
When I listened to what Mr. Amachree said and the gentleman, the military men, I felt that I was getting entertained because there was no logic to what they were saying. They're more like, dancing off the issue. They have no logic in their thinking and no reasoning. Because here's what it is. Regardless of the Geneva Convention, nobody should come into your country and to violate you. If they do, then you are the weak one. And throughout this time, things were going on. Not the DSS or the military has ever gone to the American embassy. The legal attaches at the embassy, or the chief of mission and said, here is our observations. I would challenge Mr. Amachree. Has DSS either through the presidency when he was in office said, hey, here are some observations. Can you please use your presidential power or the Minister of Foreign Affairs and write to the embassy? I can guarantee you they never did that. You listen to what the military man was saying. Somebody drove a truck. You saw the driver. The next day the thing was empty. Was there a video evidence? So what is this intelligence when you are not even able to exercise common sense? Your home is Nigeria. Somebody comes into your living room, takes you to the boys' quarter, and you sit in there giving excuses. That's the shameful thing about the most populous black nation in the world, Nigerians, who say they are smart, but they are not acting smart. What you got to do, what you have to do is whether you have your own spies or they have their own spies. Anytime anybody comes into your country, the helicopter that was flown in, hey, it was into the Nigerian airspace. How were they able to fly? Did they fly from another country? Or because helicopter doesn't have a whole long, distance flight. So how did they get in and do that? So all I'm just saying is that the people that have the affairs of protecting Nigeria or being in the forefront or projecting an image from Nigeria, they have failed Nigeria. They offer excuses. They may have titles, but they really don't have the intelligence or the capacity to defend Nigeria where it matters. That's all I'm going to say today is America may be a superpower, but America is just like every other nation. They project their image. Everybody else projects your image. Self-preservation is the first order of business. Anything else is playing to the gallery. And Mr. Amachree and the gentlemen have shown in what they have said, they play to the gallery. Excuse me, you may be offended by this, but you have not done your job because you cannot produce a letter that you guys wrote asking or questioning, who are these people? What are they doing in Nigeria? We have a suspicion they're doing something that is wrong. They haven't done it. Instead, They go away and say, oh, superpower, America this, America that. I live in America. I run for Congress.
Would like Mr. Amachree to respond to this.
Thank you for allowing me to respond. Like you said, I was very much entertained by his response, the response of Ejike that we are playing to the gallery. It shows that he's very, very much ignorant of what international espionage is all about. I'm very surprised, a global analyst, and of course, he should know what espionage is all about. You don't go and go to a foreign embassy to go and say, hey, Your people are, spying on us. So who are these people? No, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work.
No, it does work that way. It does work that way. And
just to interject, Mr. Ejike Okpa, please, you have your turn. Can you please allow Mr. Amachree to
challenge
speak?
you on a personal
Mr. Ejike Okpa, please, you had your time. Can you please allow Mr. Amachree to speak?
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. No.
Okay, Mr. Amachree.
It does not work that way. It does not work that way. In situations where a country is worried about, another country's activities, what they do is to invite the ambassador to their embassy. And we've done it so many times. Nigeria has invited the United States Embassy, Ambassador, UK, High Commissioner, any country, in fact, and then, of course, talk to them and then find out what is going on. But it's like, it's a cloak. That's why they call it cloak and dagger. It's a cloak and dagger business. It is not a fight that you go into the marketplace and start fighting that, oh, I'm a sovereign country, why are you here? The Geneva Convention is very, very clear on that after the Second World War, that countries are allowed to open diplomatic missions in foreign countries, in any other countries that are in, in good friendly situation with them. Even if the country is not in good, friendly arrangement, they send in the illegal residents. We send in illegal residents, and those illegal residents will go there and do all kinds of things. It is not today that people come to know that the USAID has done a lot of atrocities all over the world.
So Mr. Amachree, knowing this, why do we still... Mr. Amachree, knowing this, why do we still rely on security partnerships with the United States? The United States Africa Command, we share intelligence when it comes to, we're a major terrorism, anti-terrorism partner with the US. Even Nigeria military officers go for courses in the United States, knowing that, there might be tacit support from the United States for some of these terrorist organizations and also funding.
Very good question. Now you find out that the levels of relationship among countries are different. The levels of relationship, because I personally, when I was in service, I worked with the FBI. They will come for training in the United States. They come over and train us, and sometimes we know them. Those ones are not undercover. So there are different levels. And of course, you find out that your friendly country is your friendly country. And then there is nothing you can really go and say, oh, I don't want you to do this or that. The only thing you do is to block them. It's just like playing chess. You block so that they don't get their, objectives clear. Two things are at play here: national interest and influence. National interest and influence. They are seeking anything that will help their national interests. And in fact, in the case of America now, they are seeking influence. And Africa is the playground for that. Because right now, France and even the United States are losing out Africa because of what is happening in the Sahel. And then, of course, Russia and China are moving in. And these are the dynamics of international relations. And these people are there to play their game. So it is not that, oh, you are an enemy, or we know you are playing games with me. You are coming to Africa, you are coming to Niger Republic to collect uranium, which you are going to sell. And then, of course, our oil has been, the taps have been flowing, out overseas. They all have strategic importance. And these are the things people pursue.
All right, we are out of time for the conversation, but if you can vote in 30 seconds each, I'll start with Mr. Ejike Okpa. Your thoughts as to what the next steps are, or what the next steps should be And that question goes to the both of you. 30 seconds each, please.
You know, look, it's just never enough time to get into this stuff. But again, what I'm just saying is that I want Mr. Amachree to say, if any foreign agent has ever been expelled from Nigeria in the past since 1990, because if you recognize somebody is violating, nothing in the Geneva Convention that he keep referring to that he's not an expert on said you cannot expel them. Has Nigeria expelled any diplomat in the past 20-something years?
Yes,
Because they said your actions and your
Yes,
activities are violating us. That's important. You can't, if a relationship is that of a master servant, okay, then you're going to get dominated. The thing is talking about influence and all this. Every nation does that.
Okay.
But so what you want to do, if that relationship is not benefiting you, you are allowed to opt out, or you are allowed to define the new rules of engagement. So to sit there and just allow to be stepped on and abused just because you say USAID is doing this is a shame.
All right,
And
Ejike
again, I want to
Okpa,
offer
30
him
seconds is
a
elapsed.
debate on a one-on-one when I come to Nigeria, and we do it publicly, and I can guarantee you he will be very sorry for himself.
Mr. Ejike Okpa, thank you very much for your contribution. Please, as quickly as you can, Mr. Amachree, 30 seconds.
I don't know who is saying that he's going to be sorry for whoself. I don't know.
You'll be on a debate on international relations.
Oh, we can debate it. As far as I know, you are very, very ignorant about the dynamics of espionage.
Thank you.
Okay, let's not get personal, please. Let's just wrap up the conversation. Mr. Amachree, final words, please.
Let me just say this. You know, every country pursues its own national interest. And the United States AID has done their work all over the world. We know Nicaragua, you know, Panama, you know, and Peru. And we know all these things. And of course, the game is on now in Africa.
Right.
We are also playing the game. We went to Liberia in ECOMOG. You know, we were pursuing our own interest, but you know, we spent a lot of money there, but we know what we are gaining back. You know, it's all about interests and influence.
It is indeed about interest and influence, but we have to wrap up the conversation now. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Dennis Amachree, Ejike Okpa, thank you for joining us for the conversation. We look forward to having you both again, and this time would have a debate about the country.
I mean, they're both in the United States of America. You could meet up over coffee.
Over drinks,
and,
you know, and
you can Google my number.
Of course, we're all here, and he knows what is, you know, you should know what we're talking about.
Okay, no problem. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
You can shake virtual hands before we go.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to the next conversations. Of course, let's share with you a recap of what we've discussed this morning and then share what's coming up next. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. If you're just joining, you're well in time for our newspaper reviews. We, of course, open the phone lines, and you can call the numbers on your TV screen to share your thoughts on any of the stories we'll be looking at this morning. We're joined by Wade Ahimia, the head strategy and public affairs, Nairametrics. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Wade.
Good morning, Olumide. Good morning, Olive.
Good morning.
I should always start with the ladies.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And it's great to be here as usual.
It's great to have you as well. It's interesting that the big story on a number of the papers seem to be the same. First three papers have the same big stories. I won't tell you what they are. Let's dive right into it. Starting with the Nigerian Tribune. On the front page, alleged funding of Boko Haram by USAID. Senate invites NSA, NIA, DSS chiefs. Kyari dispels fuel quality rumor, says it's bad marketing antics. You've seen the videos on social media of those who bought the I Better Pass My Neighbor generator and took fuel from NNPC and MRS, and they've done comparisons, and they're alleging that the one from MRS is of better quality and has allowed the generator to last longer. NNPC has come out to debunk it. The conversation continues. Another content creator has done another experiment, but maybe we'll look at that later. Edo Assembly sacks all political appointees. Kebbi APC holds rally, declares support for Tinubu, adopts Idris for second term. President has been fair to all, Bagudu says. Osun Assembly condemns takeover of local government secretariats by APC. Adeleke meets British diplomats, berates Egbetokun. Egbetokun doing his job, APC replies Adeleke. local government crisis reps to investigate security situation. Illegal dissolution of local governments treasonable according to the AGF, and Nigeria sues Binance for $81.5 billion
That's a lot of cash.
tax losses. Wow. Who is going to pay the money? Binance is going to pay.
We'll add it to our
Who is going to...
Where are they suing them?
That's a good question. You know,
Nigerian
where is the
courts.
suing happening? Who is going to enforce the judgment of the court? Is Binance going to show up for hearing?
Does they have a registered? Yeah, you are supposed to pay taxes for businesses done in the locality. Do you have that evidence?
Le bâton. Okay, let's
They
move on to
probably
the
do.
next.
That's why they came to that. figure of
There's a
1.5.
few things, but let's move on. We'll touch on them. Moving on to this next paper, the Daily Trust. Let's look at the Daily Trust headline. Federal government to bar 60,000 litre fuel tankers from roads March 1st. Olive, we discussed this yesterday.
Yes, we
It
did.
seems it's now a reality, and you wonder how much thought went into this before making a decision. It's a knee-jerk decision, but we'll talk about it in detail with Owade during the course of our newspaper review. Policy will cost truck owners 300 billion naira, says NATO. 172 oil accidents, 1,896 deaths reported since 2009. You begin to wonder, okay, if you use 45,000 litre tankers, does it make the content less flammable? Food for thought. Now, Osun Council crisis deepens as SAC chairman take over local government. Why we engage another service provider for 2025 Hajj, says NACON. Visa denial. We won't tolerate disrespect from any country. Be you Canada, be you US, be you Togo.
Niger.
Be you Niger. But Niger,
That's what I'm
Niger
talking
has stopped
about.
allowing
That's
Nigerian
what
passport holders
I'm talking
to
about on what
go.
Nigerians are saying today.
Niger is a big country. Don't try them.
No, we can't.
I hope you don't have plans of going to Niger for the weekend.
I have to. I have to. They are my brothers.
Now, AGF to governors, sacking elected chairs is treason. We saw that in the Tribune. Man kills friend after serving him meal. That's what you call the Last Supper. Very sad story there. Battle of Wits, Lagos, other state assemblies involved in speakership crisis. It's always one crisis or the other. And then you wonder what time they have to really serve the people and give them dividends of democracy. Senate summons NSA, DSS, NIA over USAID terrorism funding allegations. That's all on the Daily Trust newspaper.
All right, let's now move to the Daily Independent. Still looking at USAID, Senate summons security chiefs over alleged Boko Haram funding. Nigeria won't tolerate disrespect from any country, CDS tells Canada. Why women judges seek gender balance in leadership by CJN? We're counting down the days to Women Month, the month of March, where we're going to be having conversations about women. Love it. Chief Judge Saga, Benue Assembly slams 3-month suspension on 13 lawmakers. Citing 40 federal projects, KB APC declares support for Tinubu, adopts Idris for second term. President has been fair to all, says Bagudu. Tinubu names Ismaila as rector, Nigerian Aviation College, Zaria. Let's partner to curb crude oil theft, Fubara tells New GOC. Will we ever curb crude oil theft in Nigeria? Like Waje said, if you ask me, now who I go ask. Federal government bans 60,000 litre fuel tankers from plying Nigerian roads, says ban takes effect from March 1st. Reps condemn Osun local government crisis, asked IGP, DSS, DG to restore order. Sacking local government chairman tantamount to treason, AGF warns governors. Now let's go to our last paper, The Punch.
Okay, The Punch, the headline says, Nigeria may miss $603 million fund. Senate summons service chiefs. We've seen that. Zamfara explosion, ex-governor Yari pays hospital bills as NEMA visits victims. Dangote NNPCL refineries not supplying 50% local fuel demand, says the federal government. And CBN probes 19.7 million dormant bank accounts. I have one account somewhere. I'm sure my account is part of this 19.7 million. You need money to make this account active. Yes, and federal government demands $81 billion from Binance for alleged tax evasion. That's bigger than our entire budget. I hope they pay, though. And Lagos Assembly, the drama is still unfolding. Obasa denies stockpiling arms Miranda refutes registration claim. So it's one twist or the other as the days pass. Policeman complainants arrested over newlyweds' death in custody. And local government autonomy. CBN 774 chairman differ over council's account opening. I like
All right. Maybe we'll start with, I don't know if we
let's
start
with the tankers.
Okay, let's start with the tankers. Go ahead.
I mean, it feels like a knee-jerk reaction. The roads, if you ask me, they're the #1 cause of bad roads. And then you have drivers, they left all of that and they think, just banning 60,000 liter trucks would be the solution. What's your take on
So they're banning from, I think, 45,000 and above, saying they have a limit of 45,000 liter fuel tankers plying the roads, but they're banning the 60,000 fuel liters. So will that really reduce the accident rate?
Let's not forget NATO, the National Association of Road Transport Organizations, saying that there will be a loss of 150 billion naira. Who's going to buy those trucks? There's a lot.
Plenty to talk about. I don't think banning the trucks is really the issue. Growing up in this Nigeria, and when I say growing up in Nigeria, people always think that, these things, there are way bridges, the expressways, Lagos Ibadan, Lagos Benin, had way bridges for tankers. I think 2 weeks ago when we talked about it, I explained that the law banning tankers driving during the day has been in effect since 1970 something. It was a decree that was issued by the Obasanjo government then. Now, what we talk about, in Lagos, everybody shouts about, last week I had to go do my MOT for my car. It cost me money. Or public transportation, nobody talks about that. And when I say public transportation, the tankers fall in that category because they provide service for the public. So you see worn-out tankers. The engines can't even carry the tankers when they're empty, and then you have them full. And then you see the way they go on the roads. Well, you're practically struggling with other
and you're holding your breath while
and you're holding your breath when you're beside them. And so you're trying to overtake, they're speeding up and so on. Why don't we just sit down and look at everything in totality? Rather, like you said, rather than taking this knee-jerk approach of saying, oh, ban 60,000. And that's the first thing we do in Nigeria. Oh, ban it.
Yes.
They will now come back and
then we now come back because at the end of the day, you are going to lose the services of those. I don't know how many there are, right. But if the National Union of Road Transport
there might even be fuel scarcity as a result of this, because
of the haulage
services.
There could be. Now, your pipelines are not, you're laughing, but that's the reality.
You know what, let's hold on a bit. And we have a call coming in from Alhaji Abubakar, I believe. Good morning, Alhaji. Thank you for calling. Please go ahead with your comment.
Yeah, good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Well done. Let me just contribute a little bit to the argument or to discussion. What we are having is a challenge of road versus, profit for the tanker owners. What the capacity for most roads in Nigeria is 33,000 liters. That is based on the asphalt roads. The only one that can take 60,000 or 45,000 and above are these concrete roads that are reinforced. So if we continue using those 45 to 60,000 liters, that means our roads will never be good. And Nigeria is such a corrupt society that no matter how you try to enforce law, people will take advantage of the law and be extorting money from operators. So the best thing is to ban, even 45 is not even good for our roads. So it's to ban from 45,000 to 60,000. We should go back to the 3,000 liters. The way bridges were there, most of the way bridges during Obasanjo's time were removed. They don't even have the way bridges anymore on those toll gates. So at the end of the day, trucks move from left to right without any check. And even if they are overloaded, people will pay bribe to just pass and go away. So at the end of the day, all the roads are bad. Apapa is one example. Every government came, fixed that Apapa. In 6 months, 1 year, the road is bad again. So how many times are we going to be repairing roads, At the end of the day, those rules will not last. Every year, every government that comes is busy fixing rules. So the best thing is to minimize. If you want to carry 60,000, wait for the railway to come. Then you put it on the on rail line, and you have your way out that way.
Valid argument. Thank you very much, Alhaji Garuba, for sharing that. I think that's a very valid argument.
And it is a valid argument, but let's also look at it. The essence of the way bridges and 33,000 tankers at the point at where, and he's right, because of the asphalt roads, the way bridges have been taken away, and so on and so forth. And let's also remember that when you realize the fact that Nigeria has a pipeline network that cuts across 36 states in this country, what are we doing? Why are we doing so much long haul? And that's where you use the 60,000, the 45,000 tanker trucks. It used to be 33,000 for, and when I say long haul, we're talking about you're moving from maybe interstates, and it's not you drive from Lagos to Sokoto. It's Lagos to Ibadan or Lagos to Abeokuta, and then from Ilorin to, and these are all because of the fact that we had a pipeline system, we had a storage system that could accommodate, and nothing has been is gone out of extension. So now you people, and which is wrong, like he said, and I agree with him. But people have invested, and through the system that refused to manage it, they've invested in those things and paid hundreds of millions of naira to invest in them, and then all of a sudden, boom, they can't do business anymore. And the other question will be this: when you ban all of them, how many 33,000 trucks do we have to satisfy the 25 million liters of petrol every day that moves around the country?
And the notice was very short. It's
March 1, is a week. Yeah. Yes, it's short. But the question is this: in comparison to the 33,000, to the 15,000, to the 22,500 that you have, how many in reality?
Elijah mentioned Apapa. Should this also apply to containers? Because they're the ones that are destroying those roads in Apapa. And they keep falling on cars and, you know.
First and foremost, let's even look at the trucks themselves. Are they roadworthy to carry those things? You know, that's where I started from. Are the trucks themselves roadworthy to carry those things? If they are not, why are they on the road? If I'm driving on the road and my MOT expires yesterday and they stop me, I'm in big trouble. But those things don't even have nothing. And it's so sad.
It's almost like they're exempt of roadworthy,
like I said,
and a lot of things.
Public transportation, public transportation in Nigeria seem to be exempt from
even
having roadworthy cars or roadworthy vehicles
or obeying traffic laws. Yeah,
and it's a shame.
I mean, I guess you've talked about the pros and the cons, and in the coming days we'll see how this will be implemented, and if there will be measures to ensure that we don't experience fuel scarcity, because right now that's also something that Nigerians don't hold.
Well,
but what we also don't want to keep having are bad roads, because they're not good for us, they're not good for our cars, and the rainy season is fast approaching.
Shock absorbers are very expensive.
It's very expensive, really. Okay, let's quickly look at the Osun crisis. The Daily Trust newspaper talks about the Osun crisis. The council crisis depends as sacked chairman take over local government. I think what we're seeing now just dates back to the elections, the local government elections that happened in 2022, the judgment that was given in February 2025, and how different parties are interpreting it differently. We had a guest today on the show that was interpreting it differently from the guest that we had yesterday. Some would say there is no express statement that, you know, these council chairmen should be reinstated. Some would say, you know, there's...
They're resolving to self-help, yeah.
So basically what we're saying, lives have been lost. Election is meant to happen on Saturday. We don't know if the elections will happen at this rate, but politics is politicking.
It beats me that there is a law that says that when local government representatives, chairmen and local government councillors are elected, they have a 3-year term that starts from the day they take the oaths of office till then. And elections are expected to be conducted just before their term ends. Why? So that there can be some form of handover from one person to the other. What we see is, first and foremost, the states which are supposed to be responsible for holding these elections don't run the elections. But first, once their term comes to an end, you want to sack all of them and create what? A vacancy and bring in caretaker. It just doesn't make sense. Run the elections in time so that you can. It's like telling us that you run the presidential election or the state governorship election of a state on June 1st. But on May 29, let's sack the president and sack the state governors because their terms have ended.
We have Obi calling from Abuja. Let's quickly take his call. Good morning. Thank you very much for calling. Please go ahead.
Good morning, please.
Yes, good morning. Please go ahead with your comment.
Yes, please. I want to talk about the road problem about the 60 liters of
tankers
tank moving on the road, please. My contribution there is this. I work at road construction, and I know what I'm saying. It's not all about the bounding of the tanker. It's all about checkmating the contractors that federal government used to give job. Because sometimes they will tell them to lay maybe 10 cm on the road. They will have compromise with them, and they will reduce it. And they will just lay maybe 5 or 4. And the Ministry of Works, they are not doing anything. They are not even checking anything. I worked there more than 18 years. They will just give them the contract, and they will go to the office and do what they will do, and they leave them to do all these foreign contractors. They will do what they will do. If a worker wants to talk, they will say they will sack you. And you have nothing, and you are saying something that they are doing wrong in our country. We don't have any say because our government are not even taking care of the worker. They are not even bringing journalists or to interview the workers. How are they managing? How are they doing with the foreign contractor? They will just leave everything. They will go and lay something. Both the earth movie, both the everything there, nothing is good. They will just lay it and pass and collect their money. That is why when you see the tanker that carry maybe 40 or this, and even if it is 40 or 30, the road will not be okay because they are not checkmating them. They are not going to see how the contractors are doing the work. So they will just leave them and carry the money and go. That is why you see we continue building road until when Christ comes. So that is my own contribution. If federal government can checkmating them, we serious, you know, the corrupt people that when they go, they will compromise, they will give them money. After they come to their office, they will just go and leave them doing what. And whatever they say is what we follow. They will say we should do this. We know it's wrong. The material, some of them are not good. And from the down moving at the earth movie, you will see they will just do it and pack it and cut it and just fill it and move without doing the proper thing. That is not how things is done in a foreign country. Please, let us know what to do in this our country.
Obi Francis, thank you for your contribution.
That's the safety issue, which is what we're talking about. The trucks themselves that carry those tankers, are they roadworthy? And that's what it is. It's not just about the roads. And when you say the roads are not built for 60,000, we've had some roads that have not even been maintained, not to talk about improved upon into concrete.
So there are multiple factors that contribute to this.
And it's over time. But when you say you are just going to ban a group of service providers, in National Union of Road Transport Workers, they are just going to tell you that they are going to go on strike. Tanker drivers can go on strike very soon.
All right.
I know the implications of that. Yeah.
Well,
now let's move away from there and go back to the conversation we're having about Osun crisis before we took Obi Francis.
Yeah, and my point is this. Let's run systems the way they are meant to be run. There is a tenure for local government governance. The chairman and the council members have a 3-year term from the day they're sworn in. So if it was on 1st of February, then you're expected that by 1st of February, 3 years after that, they are gone. Or if they are re-elected, they come back into office. But you won't do elections till when the terms have expired. And then you say, oh no, you have sacked all of them. And the law, like the AGF says, this governor has no right to just wake up and sack local government councils because you didn't appoint them. They are elected officials. So let the system take its course. And until we do that, we're just going to have the same crisis all over the place. Run the election well before time Are you with me? Have councillors and chairmen who have won elections so that there can be proper handovers and all, and meet with the councillors who are already in place and the chairmen who are already in place if there are going to be replacements. And if you've done your 2 terms, which the law prescribes, then the new person who is coming in after that you must run things.
Now, what will it take
correctly.
to end this cycle of violence we've seen on Monday? Over 6 people died. And are they dying because of the need to serve the people? Why is it? This is just local government chairmanship. Is it because they're closer to the people? Why are we seeing this violence?
Politics, first and foremost, and I don't know why people want to cause mayhem because of a position that you are meant to serve the people, except you have ulterior motives. And that
shouldn't be a do or die affair.
Well, it shouldn't be, but that's what we've seen, and it's not today. I've seen it over so many elections in this country. And so it's become a do or die affair. But like I said, run elections when they're meant to be run, which is at least 90 days before the end of the terms of the tenures of the council members. And then we know that there are elected officials who are either going to take over or they have been re-elected and are going to continue on their role for the 2nd term. That's it. But when you don't run the elections on time and then you just wake up and say, oh, their tenures have expired, and the law says you should sack them. No, you shouldn't. You should run the elections and have people who are going to come in. You don't bring in caretaker committees or executive secretaries to run councils that people should have been elected for. That's my opinion, and I think that's what the federal government and the National Assembly should look at in the local government legislation for the states towards election. And the irony of it is, under the very first set of elections, the local government elections were conducted centrally from the national. It was the Obasanjo government that moved it to the state. But the states have just,
There's no independence in the state electoral commissions. The results are almost...
It makes no difference. You see, the independence or no independence, run the process the way the law says you should run the process. Then you cannot... When you don't run the process correctly, do you understand? Then how can you complain about independence? Even those who want to contest the elections, you don't even know what the law says, and then the governors now think that, oh, you can just fire local government chairmen because their terms have expired. Like I said, it's like your term expired and INEC did not conduct elections. You should just fire the president or fire the state governors. That's what they are saying. That's what you are putting in place. Because what's good for the goose, like I say, is good for the gander.
Absolutely.
Okay, there's no way that we can wrap up this conversation as quickly as possible without you speaking on USAID.
Yes, the Senate has summoned security chiefs over alleged Boko Haram findings, and they want to know...
You see what Akpabio has said about it. You've heard a bit of the argument between our guests. Let's get your own thoughts as we wrap this up.
So, what are your expectations from the probe, and what's necessary steps you take?
I don't think there should even be a probe. My expectations...
Why? This is a very serious allegation.
So let me put it this way. We know that the U.S., over time, in trying to build democratic institutions across the world, have either supported one form of non-state actors or the other. Some of them have come out to become what today are terrorist groups. Now, is there a possibility that some of the funds that have gone through USAID have gone to some of these non-state actors who, when they lost out on the power play, have become terrorist groups? Yes, it's possible. But is there any direct involvement of saying USAID is sponsoring terrorism? In my own opinion, I don't think that's right. I don't think that is right. But yes, monies that have gone out towards pushing democratic institutions in some of these countries. How did Al-Qaeda come out to be? Al-Qaeda came out to be in the early 90s, after the war in Iraq, the Bush war in Iraq. And then ISIS came out to be after the Bush war, also in Iraq. So where did those monies come from? and there were humanitarian activities that went on after that. Yes, some of them might have gone into those pockets towards humanitarian activities, but have been diverted to other means. And let's be very careful when we make these statements and throw them out generally, that, oh, they are sponsoring terrorism, people like Boko Haram. Right. Whoever made that statement, let him show us the evidence and the documentation that shows that. They
but when you ask about, people asking for evidence, they'll say that, you are being lily-livered and you're not able to. So I think one of the quotes I've heard is the witch died in the night. The mother cried, the witch died. How is that proven?
No, and I mean, they say the way these things operate, intelligence, that's why it's called cloak and dagger. You don't expect them to open up and say, oh, we did this and that. That's like looking for a needle in a haystack.
So the American...
But looking at America's history of destabilization, regime change,
we need to get
and that's my point. Yeah, and so is it directly from the USAID? We know the covert operations of the CIA, the FBI, and all. Monies are even drug money in Mexico, like they all continue to scream. But the reality comes from the fact that a lot of these things are passed through different agencies on what you call, whether it's humanitarian activities or democratic institution building and all. But when you say the allegation is you take USAID money and then I give it to Olumide, who I know is a terrorist, and they've done it directly. They did it in what's it called, Colombia.
I mean, look at Syria, the recent case of Syria. The president of Syria was on FBI's wanted list.
This is where we end the newspaper reviews.
That's it. So
thank you so much for
that, it just beats me that USAID supports terrorism. Maybe indirectly, yes, it's possible. But let them also show me that that money were given to those terrorists. So invariably, they will just tell us that USAID were the ones who started to fund Osama bin Laden.
All right, we need to wrap up now. Thank you so much, Wade, for joining us.
And thank you for having me.
So our callers as well, who have called in to share their thoughts and help us to get a broader perspective on some of the stories on the front pages of the newspapers. We'll now be heading to social media to find out what Nigerians are saying on X. And this time, Niger is in the news. Stick around to find out why. Reports have it that our northern neighbor, Niger Republic, has allegedly begun rejecting the ECOWAS passport and barring Nigerian passport holders from entry. The Punch newspaper reports this story, quoting sources such as Abubakar Issa, a commercial driver on the Ilela-Koni route, who alleges exploitation by security officials in Niger. In fact, he says that they would ask for up to 5,000 CFA before they would allow you passage if you don't have the actual documentation. This move follows Niger's, alongside Mali and Burkina Faso's recent withdrawal from the Economic Community of West African States. Despite maintaining an open border with Nigeria, new immigration measures are being implemented at the crossings, such as Ilela, which is in Nigeria, and Koni in Niger. And we see that cross-border traders and commuters now face difficulties as Nigerian authorities refuse to recognize the ECOWAS passport as a valid identification. Now, what does this mean for regional travel, trade, and diplomatic relations? Is this a fallout of the recent ECOWAS tensions, or is there more beneath the surface? Speaking about the exit of these three countries from ECOWAS, this move has led to the introduction of the Sahel passport by the newly formed Alliance of Sahel States, aiming to facilitate seamless travel among its members and symbolizing a decisive step away from colonial legacies. The AES's emergence could redefine West African alliances. Now, as these nations pivot towards new partnerships, including strengthened ties with maybe Russia, the geopolitical landscape is poised for transformation. This transition we're seeing isn't just about new travel documents. It carries profound implications for regional dynamics. The immediate impact that we can see, of course, is the potential of Nigerian passport holders now facing entry restrictions into Niger, disrupting the once fluid movements across our shared borders. But the ripples extend further. Trade between Nigeria and Niger, vital for local economies, is on the strain. The cessation of ECOWAS protocols means increased tariffs, logistical challenges, and a potential decline in cross-border commerce. Now, you recall that we all have the green passport in Nigeria that's our official travel document. But if I wanted to go to Niger before now, I didn't even need to go with that. I just needed my ECOWAS travel document, which is a lighter blue shade. But now it seems that that might not suffice. Nigerians are, of course, speaking about this on X, and here's what they are saying. T. Oracles is our first tweet. He says, I can't be friends with someone who is a friend to my enemy. Niger rejected France, but Nigeria retains friendship with France. So it makes sense for them to act like they have done until the whole world rejects us before we would learn. Elections have consequences. The next tweet, Sunday Truck says, ECOWAS is becoming weaker by the day. What's the point of regional unity if this is happening? Let's see if the Nigerian government responds to this. We have the next tweet, Guinevere, which says if Niger withdraws from ECOWAS, well, it's not an if, because Niger already has withdrawn from ECOWAS. Nigerians can't travel there again without any sort of visa or permit. One of the benefits of being member of ECOWAS is the free travels within ECOWAS member states. And we have the next tweet, of course, from Frank. Their next move is to build their own dam and reciprocate the favor we showed them recently. One poor decision has established a precedent for retaliatory actions. We have another tweet, and this time around it's from Genevieve Mbama, who says, the same Niger that their citizens cross over to Nigeria with reckless abandon, the same Niger former President Buhari was busy using our taxpayers' money to build their infrastructure. Wow, really? Nigeria only receives ingratitude for playing big brother to Africa. Good for us, he says. And Casey now says, in reaction to all of this, ordinary Niger Republic, okay, seems like our so-called international passport is only strong enough for SIM card registration. Yay. Well, when contacted on Monday, the head of communications ECOWAS Commission, Joel Ahofoji, said the regional bloc was unaware of Niger Republic's policy to ban the ECOWAS passport. So this is all we know so far. If you or anyone you know has tried to travel recently to Niger with an ECOWAS passport, please let us know what your experience has been. The Punch does document a number of experiences, but we'd like to hear your experiences, and you can tweet at us at News Central TV. Benga, your thoughts?
Interesting development, but I think, Nigeria is too important for that. There's a saying that when Nigeria sneezes, the whole of Africa catches a cold.
Does the whole of Africa really catch a cold now?
Yes, they do. Looking at the holistic picture, Northern Nigeria shares a kinship with Niger Republic. I recall when the Tinubu administration in its early days was threatening the military government with, invading, and the advice he got from his military chiefs was that, look, the consequences will have far-reaching implications, so you can't do this. Maybe some technical or overzealous border agents refused a few people. But now that it's in public knowledge, I'm sure the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Togo, will talk to his counterpart in Niger, because regardless of leaving ECOWAS, there should still be that brotherly and friendly neighborliness that we once enjoy. Shared. We once shared free movement of people and goods, like Brexit. The United Kingdom left Brexit, but if British citizens want to go to France, there's still that free movement, and most parts of EU. So I think they're making a mountain out of a molehill with this. It will be ironed out in the next few weeks. Let's see. Maybe this will then get us to have an official report. Like you said, it might be some overzealous security agencies. We're seeing here that they're demanding between 5,000 to 10,000 CFA before allowing those with an ECOWAS passport to pass. And this is according to Abubakar Issa, a commercial driver on that route. Needs to step up. There are several other people who have shared their reports with the Punch newspaper. So we need to step up, protect our citizens and from exploitation and what have you. Right. Otherwise, there will be reciprocal action. Anyway, that's all that we have on what Nigerians are saying. We have come to the end of today's show. Thank you for joining us this morning on Breakfast Central. We'll be back again to crown the week with some of the biggest stories that will break maybe in the next 24 hours, or to follow up with updates on the stories we've been following. For example, Osun elections. The elections are likely to hold on Saturday. We do not know if they will or will not hold, but we'll be bringing whatever latest developments we have to you tomorrow. See you again. I am Olive MOD. And I'm Benga Bora. Remember, the conversation continues offline, so we put a lot of the discussions on our social media platforms, so you can interact, engage. If you didn't get to call in, you can always tweet and, engage with our posts. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow.